to Stream of Gaming, a weekly podcast on gaming, film, music, and pop culture from an artist's perspective. As always, if you'd like to help support the podcast, please visit patreon.com/streamofgaming. The more help we can get, the more platforms we can publish in, and the more content we can bring to you. We've been off for a little bit, but we decided that even though we aren't at full strength yet, due to a variety of scheduling issues, we're going to just try to tough one out. It's episode 36 this week. I don't think I've ever
Holy cow, 36?
I don't think I've ever done an announcement for episode numbers before. So
we're in 36.
I put that in. Yep, we're at 36.
Wow.
But given how many we've skipped, for all we know, we should be at like 48 or something. I don't know. Shh, we're not lazy. So we had this idea of talking about games and mythology this week. Oh no, of course, as always, I'm Brent.
I'm Kyle.
And that's it. That's literally all we have. We're back to the way.
We're to the bros.
We're back to the way it was in like
the
first two episodes. The Gerbs and Marcus, just so you know, you're fired. You're never coming back.
No, don't do that.
So anyways, we were thinking about talking about games and mythology this week. I assume that you had a reason to do that. Now, this works for me.
I did.
But
because I was just kind of like, hey, let's talk about this. Because I've been watching through gameplay videos of God of War 4, or the reboot of God of War, whatever the heck. I think it's calling it God of War.
Yeah.
And I just find it extremely fascinating. It's one of those games that I never got to play because I don't have a PlayStation, and I don't have the funds to have a PlayStation. And but yeah, it's just been really fun watching it, and this weird mix of Greek and Norse mythology in the newest one is kind of interesting to me.
Okay. Now, interestingly, this works for me a lot this week because just yesterday I played Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh yeah,
which
I've been looking at that, and if I had money, I might pick it up. But
it's 30.
Tough.
Yeah, it's $30. It's on, but it was originally like a timed exclusive on the PS4 and the 4 Pro. It is now on Xbox as well, and it is very much ideal to play on the One X because it is specifically enhanced for that, and it does 4K HDR on the whole bit. And in fact, when you start the game, it tells you this game is meant to be played with headphones. And I agree with that because what they did is so actually I should start with giving some background on the game. As the title implies, there's a character named Senua. You play as her. She is this ancient Celtic girl. I originally thought she was a Viking, but she's not. She's a Celt from like Scotland, Ireland area, and she lives in a place where the Vikings invaded. And when she came back from some thing she had to do or whatever, and came back to her village or wherever, and found that her husband had been tortured and killed. And she had just so happens to suffer from psychosis. And this is not like a Hollywood psychopathy psychosis thing. This is the developer Ninja Theory. They actually went and got like a doctor with a PhD in this, and they talked to a lot of people that actually suffered from it, and they got as much real world accurate information as possible so they could accurately represent what it's like to be a person experiencing psychosis and the various symptoms that can accompany that. So for the first thing you notice when the game starts up is she hears voices. Yeah. And the way after you finish the game, there's a video you can watch of the making of the game, and they reveal that the way that they did these voices is they rigged up a pair of binaural microphones. Now, binaural is a little bit different from stereo because it's not like you have two microphones pointing forward, slightly like off center, so that you get like a rough like forward stereo picture. No, binaural is when you have two microphones facing opposite directions, a distance apart that is roughly the same as the ear placement on a human head. So what they did is they had these actors who are the voices that you hear in your head. They ran around a room and they yelled their lines and whispered their lines at various different distances from these basically ears that were made to record this. And so you hear all throughout the game, there'll be like an occasional whisper in your ear, and then sometimes when something big happens, there'll be like a chorus of voices that are all shouting at you from different directions, and you hear them all around you, and some are up close, some are far away, and it's really, really. I don't know how to put it. It's like disturbing, but also kind of fascinating, and there's a lot going on. So the idea of the story is that she is going on this sort of like vision quest thing to she travels with the head of her husband, because in their tradition, and this is not done because it's so metal. It's done because that particular culture believed that the soul resided in the head. So from their perspective, in order to put her husband to rest and or to revitalize him, if that was even possible, his soul would need to be present for that to happen. So she took his head with her, and she basically goes north to presumably somewhere in the Norwegian area, and her mind is constructing the world, even though like you have only a very rough idea where she is, but her mind is like her constructs towers and bridges, and the enemy she's fighting, you go and you fight this like fire demon god dude, and there's like a raven god of what's the word, of like trickery, kind of like a Loki kind of a thing, but it's a raven. And so there's combat, but there's also puzzle solving, and the whole way through there's like illusions, like there's doorways, like you remember the game Prey, the original game Prey?
Yeah, the original.
And there would be those doorways where they would put you into like you'd look through the doorway and it's a completely different place. They do that as a puzzle solving mechanic where you go through these doorways and things will appear and disappear in the environment. And like there's so many different mechanics that each section of the game has like different ways for you to progress. But the whole way through, it's like, even though she's a Celt, everything that she's seeing is being basically made by her interpreting the Norse mythology that one of her old friends told her. And along the way, there's one set of collectibles in the game, and there are these sort of they're called lore stones, and basically it's just her old friend, when you find them, you get like a soundbite of her old friend telling her the Norse mythology that he learned when he went up north at some point in his life. And so all like she invents like what Fafnir looks like and what certain types of demons look like, and so it's all happening in Helheim, which is the Viking word for hell, all that. So it's about a 6 to 8 hour game, depending on how fast you play it. If you are very, very detail oriented in finding these lore stones, you can 100% game score it in a day, as I did. So I in fact, before this, I played Tacoma, which is another subject entirely. So I ended up getting 2,000 gamer score in 24 hours, which is a new high for me. But yeah, if you have $30, and especially if you have a 4K console, PS4 Pro or Xbox One, because even though the Xbox One X does do it better, the PS4 Pro is no slouch in this regard. Play it. I don't know if it's coming to PC or if it's already there, but if it ever gets there, my God, like
I thought it might have.
It's
maybe not.
Yeah, this game. Does it run Crisis is no longer a thing. It should be, does it run Senua's Sacrifice? That's how this game. If you look up screenshots, I'm not gonna even try to explain how good this game looks. Look up a screenshot, because everything you see, every screen, there are no pre-recorded cinematics in this game at all. Every single picture you see of this game, that is how good it looks at every point in time. It's ridiculous. So yeah. It's an interesting take on mythology, because it's like, well, mythology is sort of our own interpretation of the world, because it's sort of like pre-religion, but also religion at the same time. So it's this, it's her mind interpreting her beliefs and other people's beliefs. It's really great. Yeah.
Oh, just wow. So it won 5 BAFTAs?
Yes, it won BAFTAs because of its accurate portrayal of psychosis.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if games have really won
Nope.
BAFTAs before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just so you know, that's the British Academy
For fine arts, right?
for Fine Arts or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Fine arts and theater and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it won a BAFTA for, well, it won a BAFTA for like Game of the Year or something like that. But it also,
Yeah.
but one of the awards it got was for because of its realistic portrayal of someone who suffers from psychosis.
Yeah, so it's on Steam.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, so unless you only own a Switch, you have no excuse. Play this game. It's $30.
You also said that you should have an X or a PS4 Pro.
You are going to get the most out of this game if you have if you have one of the 4K consoles or a PC that has like I want to say a 1070 at least. Yeah. So
wow, yeah, similarly enough, with my watching and kind of fascination of this, especially this new God of War game, some similarities in terms of like at least the Helheim bit, because like if you Brent, how much do you know about the God of War series?
Only about as much as my old friend Matt told me when he was really into like the first and second games years ago.
Okay, well, so I mean, basic run through is there's Kratos.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Spartan.
Yes, he was.
He pledged himself to Ares.
At some point,
the God of War in Greek mythology.
He has like ashes on him now.
Yeah, and so he pledged his soul to him. So now he works for him.
Mm-hmm.
In the first game, you kill the God of War and you become the new God of War.
Right.
And then in like the second and third games, it's all about like killing all the other gods essentially. So after the end of 3, pretty much most of the Greek pantheon, if not all of it's done. And so he just decides to leave because like I don't know, there's bad memories and things like that. Like he has all these memories of him.
He did murder an entire pantheon. That should create some bad memories.
No, but actually his bad memories were from when he worked for Ares. He was coerced into killing his own wife and child.
Yeah.
And so he was spending time trying to get rid of those memories and then realized that he didn't want to get rid of them. And then he keeps going back and forth. But anyway, you start out the fourth installment. No, I guess there's more than just those 4 games, but this is like the big.
Yeah, there's
big
like a PSP game or two in there.
Yeah, but and you have there's kid, and you realize and you find out that the mother of the kid has died.
Like I've just as an aside, I know that the kid actually has a name, but there was a Penny Arcade comic where they had Kratos like, "Hey Kratos, way to get a name your kid. I shall name him Boy."
Because he does. Oh my goodness! Throughout, like, so if you watch the playthrough of the game, or if you play through the game, yeah, Kratos does call his son's name is Atreus.
Yeah,
and he calls him Boy all the time.
Yeah.
But you start just by like finding out like, okay, Kratos has this kid and he had this kid with this woman, but you don't know anything about the woman other than like they moved there, and you can tell that like it's in Norse mythology lands.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean kind of watching it from there, and it's real interesting, like their connections and all these Norse mythology people. They're like they like look at Kratos and they're like, dude, you're totally a god. You need to tell your son that you're a god. Like, does your son know that you're a god? Does your son know that he's part god? Like,
oh, so the son is a demigod.
Yeah, technically.
Does he have powers?
And yeah, he's really good. Like, he's really good at languages.
Oh, so I was going to say, does he have powers? Yeah. Is he like a Hercules kind of deal going on?
So he's not Hercules, no.
Not strength necessarily, but
Yeah, so it gets really interesting. So I don't know how much spoilery things you're interested in talking about.
I mean, I
know that how it ends.
But I'm not gonna be buying a PS4 anytime soon. So
yeah. This has been your warning. I mean, the game's been out for like a month and a half. So if you wanted to play it and you to silence the recording for like the next
silence
couple of
your
minutes.
Cell phones.
Yeah. So you go through the game. Essentially all you're really trying to do is fulfill the mother's last dying wish, which is to spread her ashes at the highest peak in all the lands, which at first they were like, oh, we're going to go to the top of this mountain. And they're like, nope, actually it's in Jotunheim, which is the land of the giants.
Yeah, frost giants.
Yeah. And so they eventually they do lots and lots and lots of things. They meet lots of Norse mythology peoples and subsequently either befriend them or kill them, kind of thing. Not a lot of them, because they're still leaving the room, because apparently they're supposed to have like 4 or 5 more games. Like, they're going into this. I don't know if it's all going to be Norse mythology, but they're definitely set up for another one. But they get
this
to
time Kratos versus Shiva.
No, because you would be interested and be like, okay, Norse mythology, they're gonna put him up against Thor right away, or they're gonna put him against Odin, like, you know, put him against a big guy.
Well, Odin wasn't really a fighter.
The main bad guy of this first one is Balder.
Okay.
Which, I mean, granted, he is also a big figure. I mean, he's a son of Odin. He's brother to Thor and Loki, and yeah, it's like that makes sense. But so you finally fight him and stuff, and then you go and you spread as you're going up to this this highest peak, which is, it looks like it's in the top of essentially like a giant hand. You stumble upon this temple. And as they're walking out of the temple, all this like scripture just appears on the walls, and they're like, well, that's kind of creepy. Like, what does it say? And it had all these things that happened to Kratos and Atreus throughout the game shown, where it's like, wow, okay, we knew this all happened. And they find out that it was the mother who wrote this like prophecy of like knew exactly what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really bizarre, and they get rid of the ashes, and on the way back down, they're like, man, it's so interesting that the mom knew all these things. And they also find out too that the mom was a giant.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, so Atreus is the son of a giant and a god. Like, okay.
And in Norse mythology, giants sort of were gods in their own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, in their own way. And so they're like, yeah, this is super weird. So like, Kratos named the boy Atreus after a buddy of his who was like a fierce Spartan warrior.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, man, in all these scriptures, whenever they write about him, Atreus, the mom gave him another name, and that name is Loki. So you're like, oh man, like, what's gonna happen?
Wait a minute,
like,
hold on, I have to check.
There's this whole theme throughout, and mostly through mythology too, that like, sons kill their fathers, fathers kill their sons. Like, there's a lot of that in mythology, and so there's this like idea of like, okay, is this kid gonna be, is he gonna grow up to be the Loki that we know of from other things? Is he gonna be this insane shape-shifting madman who just wants to, play tricks on everybody?
Because in the actual mythology, one of Loki's parents is a Jotun, but it's the father, not the mother.
Yeah. So I mean, this is where they kind of turn it on their head. Yeah. Turn it on its head there, but yeah. So I'm curious. And then when they you follow all this, man, it's like one of the most cinematic games. Like, it's literally like a one shot. Like, it's the Quentin Tarantino of games.
Yeah, there's a channel on YouTube called Digital Foundry, and they do all these analysis of like the graphical performance of various games on different systems, and they'll do like, okay, here's what's happening in the resolution on Xbox versus PlayStation, and they just put out one for God of War. And it's like, whoa! It's like, oh, I've seen screenshots of this. I did not see this particular part of the game. Yeah, it looks pretty great. It's actually kind of like this and Senua's Sacrifice are both like, okay, wow, these games look good.
Yeah, but so you walk back home essentially, and they're like, okay, we're done with that. Like, we spread our ashes. We found out a bunch of stuff. We killed some bad people. We help some good people. We're all good. And then they have like a blank screen, and they're like, sometime later. And then there's this big storm, and then outside, like, their door bursts open, and outside their house is Thor. And it's just like, well, oh great, they just killed his brother. This is not going to be good. Oh, and then it cuts, and it's like, okay, well, there's going to be another game.
Well, of course there is, yeah.
But I think it's super cool, this like crossover, and who knows like what else they're gonna do, because I mean, so many of these ancient societies were polytheistic,
Yeah.
and had some vision of a god of war. And I think from what I've seen so far, they're trying to kind of combine all of them in terms of like, okay, Kratos is the god of war, or becomes the god of war, but like subsequently, like it's almost like how here's tangent here, that the doctor of Doctor Who is so many people in so many different cultures.
Yeah.
So it's like Kratos is going to be this guy who's somebody in so many different cultures. It's the man of many names, but he does the same thing.
He's like the good guy version of like how Hollywood represents Dracula. Like Dracula has been everyone at some point in history. He's been like in every single time there's a revolution, he was there.
Yeah, except like Kratos is kind of like, I don't know. He's an interesting character because like he is good, but he's not. If you look at the things he's done, it's just like, okay, well, the people that he killed were dicks, but he still killed them. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff in there, and there's lots of people who have made videos about like the mythology behind some of these characters and different things. Like there's legitimately, I thought it was really funny because you said that that Senua carries her husband's head.
Yeah, well, it's like in this sack that's on her belt. Like
yeah, so in God of War, when you get to the top of the first peak and you're like, okay, this is where we're dropping it off, there's a guy there who's stuck inside of a tree.
Okay.
He's a god. His name is Mimir.
Okay.
And Mimir is like the man who knows everything. Like he has this well that like has knowledge, and he like drank from it, and so now he knows everything.
Odin sacrificed his eye to Mimir for knowledge. He's one of the major characters.
Yeah. And so he did some things that Odin didn't like, and so he put him inside this tree, and the only thing that can break him free of the tree is Thor's hammer. And so what he asked Kratos to do is to cut off his head and to try to find someone to resurrect it. And they end up finding, there's like, oh, we know this witch in the woods who uses old magic. And they're like, cool, like, just so you know, you're going to be dead for a while here, so hopefully this works. And he's like, okay, well, he's like, I've been stuck in this tree for a long time, so I'm okay with being dead. And so they finally resurrect him. And you find out that the witch in the woods is Freya. And you're like, oh, great. This is what we need. The person who's helping us is like also a psychopath and like is good but bad at the same time. And then throughout the entire rest of the game, Kratos wears Mimir on his belt.
Oh my God. Kratos is Odin. Because that is exactly in Norse mythology, Odin carries around Mimir.
Kratos is not Odin though. Like they talk about.
Okay.
Because now he did kill. No, Kratos did kill Zeus.
Okay. Because it says
so. Like if you really think if you take on the idea of like him killing somebody means that he becomes them, he is technically the head of the Greek
in the actual mythology. He is accidentally beheaded during a war, but Odin realizes apparently his head survived because he's a god. So Odin carries him around on his belt, and because he recites secret knowledge and counsel to him.
Yeah. I highly recommend you look up any of the things that he says, because it's really funny because he becomes this like comic relief also, along with knowing everything.
My God, these two games have so much in common. This is funny.
That's why I was just like, it's like so funny that like this game that's like super, super dark and like going through like psychosis, and this game that's, I mean, it's got some meat to it.
Your game has
like
actual comic relief,
blockbuster of games usually,
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's kill some things, let's learn some mythology, woohoo. But like, yeah, that you do this, that I thought was so funny that you're like, oh yeah, you carry this person's head on your, in a bag, but this is like not in a bag. This is like full out, like, so when you're walking around in the game,
and he's just talking to you while he's just sitting there,
talking head hanging from from his belt. But he's just really quick-witted. I wanted to look up the voice acting, because I'm pretty sure Atreus is voiced by the same person who voices Aang from The Last Airbender.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's funny because the guy that voices I used to be a big fan of the Stargate series, and the guy who voices Kratos is one of the original actors on Stargate. Yeah, look him up. He's done a lot of cool stuff.
Okay, well, it's the guy who voices Atreus is definitely not Aang, but if you watch any bits of the game, he sounds just like him. It is terrifying. I'm like, wait, is this is it like is this Aang? Like what? Because Aang is voiced by Zach Tyler.
Who, I mean, he would have been. How old is he now, right? Zach Tyler.
Zach Tyler is only a couple years younger than me.
Right, but he's not a teenager anymore.
So what?
It's been a while.
Yeah, I guess he won't have.
He doesn't sound like a 12-year-old boy anymore.
Yeah, it's true. But but it's creepy. Yeah, but oh, that's true. And Ryan, you were saying Stargate. Yeah, Christopher Judge.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of things. Shit. He was just a random mercenary in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
That's great. But yeah, I don't know. It got me kind of interested in I don't know. Maybe I'll bug Gerbs to lend me his stuff over the summer or something. Because I don't know if he has any of those. Because it also like made me think of like mythologies that are created inside of a game to like help tell stories, and then that immediately made me think of robot dinosaurs, Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, and they kind of like create their own like pseudo mythology within that world.
Have you played that game at all? Because I certainly haven't.
I have not. I really want to.
Because I don't know if that has anything to do with mythology.
Well, I mean, it has to do with like not necessarily mythology, but it has to do with like I don't know, like what would you call like Native American lore?
No, absolutely. Okay, I didn't know. I thought it was just pure science fiction that happened to have robot dinosaurs. I didn't know that it was like tapping into any particular religious
I think like they have
thing.
Tribes and stuff, and they have. I don't know how much like if there's actual mythology within it or not.
Okay,
but I mean, like when you think about it, lots of games like create their own backstories that are just kind of like, is this actually true? Is this not true?
But there's a difference between we are tribes and we are trying to get it to rain, and we are tribes and we have these gods and they are directly involved in they're directly involved in the game or something like that. That's like,
that is true. That is true.
Like the Witcher has mythology because you run into a guy who's kind of like a myth, and well, granted, you don't find out
everyone in that game is a myth.
Yeah, but there's like specific characters who are actually like legitimately powerful, and you're not sure if they're a god, if they're just like an anomaly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't. That is interesting. Like, let me look up. Let me look up something here. Because I mean, the other thing that came straight to my mind was Age of Mythology.
Well, yeah, that's like the most obvious one, is because that's literally what the entire game is about. Is, hey, let's just have all of the different things fight each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but like almost kind of like a pre-God of War,
in a
right?
sense,
Because it's just like because you play as this. I forgot who you played as.
Oh god!
But I think played as this guy who like got
up.
screwed over by Poseidon, and so he decides to like get a band of people together to like take out Poseidon.
You play, let's see, Atlantean admiral and war hero Arkantos arrives at Atlantis after several years of warfare to see his son Castor. However, he is ordered by the Atlantean counselor and theocrat Krios to sail to Troy to assist Agamemnon in the Trojan War. And then just then the island is attacked by Krakens and the Black Sails, a group of pirates and bandits led by the Minotaur Kamos. So they're not really they have a lot of pieces from the different mythologies, but it looks like they're not actually following the specific stories of them. Like this is an additional story that exists outside.
Oh
of the
yeah,
others.
it doesn't follow any. It's an original myth.
Or it's like, it sounds like a god with the new God of War. It sounds like, okay, they're taking Norse mythology stories and they're reinterpreting them and putting them in different orders so that they all kind of work together. It's sort of like revisionist history, but it's not history, it's myth.
Yeah. So, as Google Dictionary gives us, mythology is a collection of myths, especially one belonging to a particular religion or cultural tradition. It also gives it as saying a set of stories or beliefs about a particular person, institution, or situation, especially when exaggerated or fictitious.
You know, there's, I first of all, at this point, we know like very, very little about like Native American myth because most of it was oral and what was written down has probably been destroyed. But I wonder like how many other tribes around the world, like no one really thinks about, probably have mythologies. Like what about like the Australian Aboriginals? I kind of wonder what their mythology was if they had one. And what like how
That's a good point.
That would be, if you want to, man, someone should remake or remaster Age of Mythology and say, okay, now that we've done this, for those of you who just like the nerd factor of this, we're going to continue adding factions that are different mythologies that aren't the most obvious ones. Like we're going to take out, we already have the Egyptian and the Greek and whatnot, and the Norse. Let's find like some weird, like a bunch of gods
like
from
Russian.
Africa.
Like,
well, the Russians, really? I mean, that's pretty much just the Mongols.
Because if you said like, oh, we got to do like German or British, well, most of the German and British are all just offsets of the Norse. You know, they're all like the same kind of either that or the Norse are just offsets of the German. You know,
when you say British, what's really happening is you're saying the ancient Celts because the Celts,
yeah, exactly. Because the area that is currently the United Kingdom.
Well, I don't even know what was in the Germanic. I mean, I know historically they were called the Visigoths, but that was more like that was a word to make fun of them.
The way I always think of German myth is like what Wagner did. And like Wagner took like this combination of
Norse
like
and a bunch of other stuff,
what German myth was, and combined it with Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Because he included a lot of stuff with like, the spiritual nature of the Rhine, and like mythical creatures from that area, but then included people like Odin and Freya or Frigga and like all these people. So yeah, I'm looking, you know, what would be really interesting too is and there's been games that have covered this, but yeah, if you had the Age of Mythology, but like the lesser, or not necessarily lesser, but the different, having like Shintoism.
Oh yeah,
but like with some Japanese stuff, because man, like their mythos is like everything is something.
Well, okay, so Shinto is there is a pantheon to Shinto, but then like
Hindu, that's massive.
That's massive.
Hindu mythology is insanely large.
The pantheon of Shinto is, I don't want to say small, but it's not the largest out there if you look at the actual number of characters involved. But then basically they offset that by the fact that as you were alluding to in Shinto, literally everything is a thing. Every object is a spirit.
Yeah, because like you have like certain games have taken on that. Like, I mean, you look at Okami.
Yeah. Well, Okami actually, see, the thing with Okami is it actually deals with the vast majority of the actual deities. Obviously Amaterasu, but like most of the characters, most of the major characters in that game are the names of of the other gods. Like, God, I just played it. I gotta look this up because it's
I'm on the Wikipedia page currently for the list of
Susanoo. Susanoo is a major character in the game. He is also a major pantheon character. So and there's many others in there. So. And that Okami is very much kind of in the God of War spirit of like revisionist mythology, because all the characters are there and what they do is very much the same, but how they do it and the exact combinations of everything varies. Like Orochi is in Japanese mythology. That's like a big character. And Susanoo defeating Orochi is it's a big thing too. There's a lot of stuff. And there's also like just tons and tons of very, very minor gods, and there's like shrines for it all over the country and stuff. So there's like a lot of regional things.
Oh man. Okay. So I just looked up because you were asking that. They're like, oh, what's the mythology of Australia? And there's a Wikipedia article
on Aboriginal mythology.
It's called List of Australian Aboriginal Mythological Figures.
I have to look this up now.
There are some really good ones. They're at least great names.
This seems like something that, like, how has no one said, hey, we've already done Norse Norse mythology to death.
It says in the Northern Territory there is a character named Adno Artina. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, because I definitely am.
Right.
And it says the Lizard Guide of Uluru. So not only is there a person named Uluru, but there's also a lizard guard too.
Okay.
This is amazing.
On the off chance that a game designer ever listens to this podcast, just make a game with Aboriginal mythology, because no one has ever done this, and you can make lizard people.
Yeah, lizard guards.
That's
so
canon.
So then that
canon,
guy
guys.
that he's a guard. Well, who is that? A region maybe?
It's a
region. Yeah, it's
a huge continent. There have to be regional differences.
No, but I'm saying that lizard guard is like he's guarding this rock. That's what he does. There's a rainbow serpent or rainbow snake known as Wagil. These are great.
Or Wagil. Oh my god, this is awesome.
Yeah,
how has no one used this?
Oh man, so many good names. Yeah, wow. But yeah, lots of material there. You just gotta go for it. And you could make an okami of of Aboriginal devices, and you can make the main character a kangaroo. Done. Boom. There's got to be a kangaroo god. I mean, come on.
Of course there is.
No, it didn't come up. Anyway, yeah, what about Native American?
So FYI, the title of this podcast is now Games and Mythology, or Why Isn't There a Game About Aboriginal Deities?
Yeah, or Native American, really. Wow,
yeah.
Man, this article is really good because it's just a list. So this is also, I'm on the article is called The List of Native American Deities. And it has based on tribe.
Yeah.
So what's interesting too is like some of them only have one. So either that means that one, the Wikipedia article is incomplete, which is possible.
Yeah.
Or two, they were monotheistic tribes within.
Well, yeah, I mean, considering how freaking huge Australia is, there have to be regional differences that are going to have major stuff like that happen. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
But yeah, mostly I think it's the names. But I mean, if people are going towards Greek mythology and being okay with pronunciations of some of those Norse names, like, we good. Wow. Oh man.
Well, the Wawalag sisters.
Oh my goodness.
Who are daughters of Jangawal.
Look
oh my god, this is awesome.
Look up the Navajo ones.
See Navajo mythology.
Because Navajo is a language that's notoriously hard to speak.
Navajo mythology.
How do you pronounce that? It's got all these interesting accents and things.
What?
So go to the list of Native American deities. This is totally a physical bit that none of you people listening are going to understand.
List of
unless you follow along with us. So go to the list of Native American deities webpage for Wikipedia
deities.
And scroll down until you get to Navajo. For those 13, who don't understand.
Okay. Oh my god.
Yeah. There you go.
There's like 2 accents on every single letter.
Yeah, it's great.
Azja.
Wow, there's a character who's like, there's a deity who's literally the personification of speech.
Oh my god, yeah. Bika Hozo, personification of speech, the deity of the hunt, the talking. Wait, they have the personification of speech, but they also have one that's called the talking god, god of dawn.
Yeah, but they're the
east.
God of the east.
And the house god, the god of the evening and the west, the wind god. They have a water sprinkler and rain god.
And then they have a
lunar's the white shell one.
That makes total sense. But like, holy moly, how do you pronounce those
there's
things?
And just like the Aborigines at the very bottom, the Snohomish tribe was apparently monotheistic. They only had one deity that was just the creator.
Yeah.
Doebun.
Oh wow! And so they say the creator deity of the people, and they were based near Puget Sound, which is in Washington State. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
People get on this. Make a game.
There's
people about
there's so many more mythologies than just Egyptian and Norse and Greek.
There too? Oh,
there's
man,
so many other
things
tangents. To talk about.
There was that game that just came out.
Mulaka. Your Mulaka? Was that it?
Yeah. Does the Mexican.
That was there's like this singular tribe in Mexico that's just sort of separate from all the others. Has a very singular, unique culture and history and all that. And it's in northern Mexico. I forget the name of it. But yeah, it's called Mulaka. It's like $20. It's like an 8 to 10 hour game from what I saw. I was like, okay, I either have to finally watch Darkest Hour, which is what I ended up doing because I just needed to get that Blu-ray rental back. I was like, I'm either if I don't do that, I'm either gonna get Owlboy and Mulaka, and I'm just gonna play one of them. Yeah,
Owlboy is quite good too.
Yeah,
not necessarily a not mythological.
Not so much. No,
and the music is fantastic.
Inuit mythology. They have lunar deity.
It gets really interesting.
They have Nanook, master of bears. The Inuits have Nanook, master of bears.
Oh, done.
And Narevik,
make a game.
And Narevik, sea mother and food provider. Goddess of Pinga, goddess of the hunt, fertility and medicine. Sedna, sea goddess, rule. Their sea goddess is also the ruler of the underworld because, of course.
Yeah.
And Torngasok is the sky god.
Oh man, you can just if you want to go look up lists, that will send you to other pages.
List of blank deities, basically.
List of mythologies. So wow. Okay, let's do some Russian here.
Oh my god,
I'm really curious.
What cultures exist? Because like Russia itself doesn't have a mythology, but obviously there must have been some.
What the heck?
Well, because the Russians. Russia was later.
Yeah,
you got to figure out the names of the people that were there before it was unified.
Of Russia thing.
Well, yeah, but remember, like Russia kind of exists in part because of the Mongols. So the question is, what were the name of the groups and cultures that existed prior to any kind of unification? And that's a large area. So
yeah, well, because you got like so it's not the Middle East, it's not Central. Would it be? It wouldn't be Central Asia. That's the
how about Slavic mythology? Maybe there's something there.
What part of the? Oh, maybe that's not necessarily.
Or Georgian?
Scandinavian.
I mean, it might have been called something else prior to Georgia today, but.
It could be. Oh, I could look up Slavic. Yeah. That. Oh, actually, that might.
I was like, I know Slavic is like not encompassing all of Russia, and so is Georgian culture is also Russian, also its own thing.
Yeah. Well, you have the. But Prussia's not necessarily.
Prussia was just a country that happened to be in a place for a while, and then it became something else. That's like the Holy Roman Empire. It existed because of some weird power struggles, and then it went away.
Well, What is this last one here?
Let's see here.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I'm gonna look up lesser known mythologies.
But yeah, game designers out there, get on this, because clearly we don't have enough time to do this, and we don't have the skill set.
Yeah.
But clearly people are doing it if they really care about it. And I think if you find something interesting or a place that needs to be humanized a little bit, you know, going into their mythos is a great way to do that, because you start to realize that deep down, all people are thinking about the same things. You know, like all pre-civilizations were all like, man, where did all this come from? And like, okay, there's got to be somebody who's in charge of this, you know? And some people right now, you know, might be going more the atheist route, and they just, you know, have this like scientific view. Well, now, you know, science is the thing that's your governing body. But like back then, like, man, you're like, what the heck is that big thing in the sky that makes it hot? Like, what is that?
Yep. Well, I think we're gonna call it a night, because we've gotten to the point where we're just
hot ball in the sky.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point where our podcast is just us fascinatingly reading things on Wikipedia. So I think that's a time for us to go for now. We'll hopefully be back next week.
Maybe not.
Maybe
I know
not.
I might not.
How close are you to the end of your school year, Kyle?
Next week. Yeah, this is my last big week. This could essentially be called Hell Week.
So you just have
I should probably be writing a paper right now, but I'm not.
You just have crazy finals going on and stuff. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. But otherwise, if you'd like to support the podcast, as always, please visit patreon.com/streamofgaming. We can also be found on Twitter @streamofgaming, and on Gmail if you want to email us, streamofgaming@gmail.com.
Yep.
We're available on YouTube as well as SoundCloud. Many more potentially coming in the future, but that's sort of up in the air. We'll see how things go. And yeah, I'm Brent.
I'm Kyle.
And this has been Stream of Gaming.
Both.